Hi guys, this is Dr. Jen Anaker with Anaker Clinics of Chiropractic. We are in my kitchen today doing one of my very favorite things, which is to can. I honestly probably spend 3, maybe 4 weeks, end of August into early September. A lot of the products that I can are tomatoes, but I've done dilly beans, we've done cucumbers, pickles, all kinds of things that we've canned. It really just depends on what's bountiful in the garden, maybe what I've gotten in my CSA. But when it comes to tomatoes, my garden isn't large enough to have the amount of quantity that I need. So this morning we went down to the Boise Farmers Market and got tomatoes. These tomatoes are from one of our favorite farms, Peaceful Belly. And so today we're going to can. We're going to can salsa. Canning for me goes deep into my roots of who I am. I grew up in Iowa. I have family in Iowa and Wisconsin, German immigrants that came to the United States. They were farmers. They settled in the Midwest and had large families oftentimes. And so this was a great way to be able to preserve the bounty of gardening season in order to feed their families through the winter. And I just love this. It makes me feel connected to my roots and to my family. And, it's a lot of work, I'll be real honest with you, but it's so great when you are in January months, you're making stews, soups, etc., that you've got these fresh tomatoes that have been canned. So right now we're going to do part 1. In this recipe it calls for 8 cups of salsa. We should also give my mom a little bit of credit. This is her salsa recipe. And we'll have the recipe in the links below so you can also can this if you'd like. So it calls for 8 pounds of tomatoes. For those that don't spend a lot of time in the kitchen, I just use this weight scale. And I had shown earlier in some of the items that we needed to can, this is just one of the, that helps to remove the cores. So basically, let me just grab one here. I just take this and I just into the core, and it's nice because it just takes it. This just takes the core off. It's really great. It just circles around, and that way you have the core off. Because next what we're going to do is we're going to blanch the tomatoes. We do it in batches. Blanching means we're going to take the skins off of the tomatoes, so we just have the inside or the meat of the tomatoes. And so I already have boiling water set up here in the pot. And so basically, depending on the tomato, 30 to 60 seconds is what they talk about. Sometimes I find, honestly, I need just a little bit more time because maybe the tomato is not quite as ripe. So we let's do a few of these here. So we just put those in and let those boil in order, again, to help us to take off the skins. And then you'll see once the 60 seconds or 30 to 60 seconds is over, then you want to blanch it in order to get, kind of savor the nutrients so the tomato doesn't keep cooking. So I've got just an ice bath in here, so just water and ice cubes. And that'll help us to take those skins off. And I'll just move this to get us a little bit of room. It's nice to have your station obviously all set up so you're ready to go. And so let's see how we did. So again, we're just putting these in the ice bath for just a few seconds to help us to really kind of freeze the cooking process of the tomato. And then from there, we're just peeling the skins off of the tomato. These are a little bit riper, so this is pretty easy to take the skins off. And you'll do this with all 8 pounds of the tomato. And you can see now this tomato is ready to go for us to be able to put that into the batch. So whether you're doing salsa or spaghetti sauce, or I've done pizza sauce, or I also do stewed tomatoes, this is really part 1 of all the tomato bases of canning. So this kind of ends step 1 of the canning of the salsa process. All right, guys, now we're going to do step 2. Step 2 is a really important process when you're talking about canning, and this is all about sterilizing the jars. So the jars that I've gotten, these were newer jars. First I washed them, either hand wash or obviously dishwasher. And now this is the key part about sterilizing the jars themselves. So as you go through the jars, you obviously, as you can see, just place them upside down like this, and that will sterilize the inside of the jars. We also have the lids and the screw on top here. And so I like to sterilize those as well. And you sterilize this just for about 5 minutes. And 5 to 10, you know, depends on how long the water's been warm. And so these top ones, these will get hot too. So not so hot that you can't touch them, but they'll definitely get warm. And so once you're done sterilizing them, then you just take this and you set them off to the side here. And this is where the magnet that we had shown in our pre-video about some of the items that you need comes in handy. And then this just allows that to dry off. Now usually I'm going through the process here, and so drying them off, I'll rinse off wipe down the lids, and so that way everything's ready to go. And then the jars are all sterilized, where you'll see in the next part where we're actually going to be putting the ingredients into the jar. And so again, that's another key part of sterilizing the jars in order to make sure that that food is preserved properly, because we want to make sure that everything's good for you and healthy, and that it's ready for the winter months for your soups and stews. So this is part 2 of how to sterilize the jars. All right, guys, the next step we're going to do is we're going to put the ingredients into the pot here. Now, I have to tell you, I am obviously a chiropractor and not a professional chef. So upon looking at my original recipe, and you'll see this on the link below, it is not 8 pounds, it's 8 cups. So read that link below, okay? And so now I'm just going to show you all the ingredients. Again, you'll see them in the recipe listed below. And so for the tomatoes, important, 8 cups. And so you just, oh yeah, this is already ready to go. Bring that down. So I'm just cutting these up here in order to make sure that they're broken up. And so again, 8 cups. I don't have all the other tomatoes, but this is just showing you that good juice in there, what we're using. And so the recipe has cumin, and this is some sugar. It has peppers, garlic, and jalapeños, onions. And these onions today we got from Fiddler Green down at the market. And a lot of the peppers also come from our CSA with Peaceful Belly. We also have salt and pepper. And tomato sauce. Tomato paste. And we've added 1 can of black beans. And now I'm from Iowa, so every once in a while I've got to have myself some sweet corn. So there's half a bag of sweet corn. And the last ingredient is a 1/3 cup of vinegar. And then basically you're just going to bring this to a boil. And obviously we're going to mix this around. You're going to bring it to a boil for 10 minutes. And then once this is hot, then we will have the ingredients that will then go into our canning jars that we've already sterilized. So this is the mixture. Again, the recipe is listed down below. And stay tuned as we show you a little bit more about how the end process of the canning goes. All right, guys, thanks for hanging with us. We're now to the final step in the canning process. So once we have, and we're just simulating this so you guys can see how this works. So once you have, this is done and has come to a boil for 10 minutes, now we're ready to put it into the jar. And so as you remember, we've already sterilized the jar. This funnel here we just put on top. And basically, and a lot of times I maybe have a plate underneath just to catch any extra, and we'll see how I do this, but we just put this in here and we fill up the jar. And I'm not going to quite take it all the way to the rim, but just so you get an idea. So we make sure to, again, fill it pretty close to the top. Obviously this is nowhere near, but I'd say like right up into this top area here. And then once I'm gotten it up to that top rim area, obviously I wouldn't be touching the whole jar here, but then I just put a little sprinkle of salt. That'll help to preserve it. I know some people will also, just for the acidity, maybe add a little bit of lemon juice to it, just to the top. So again, we'd have that all the way filled up to the top. Now a lot of times it's just the nature of it. It's a lot of ingredients, and so it can get a little sloppy. And so as we're filling the jar, maybe some ingredients got around that top, maybe, I don't know, quarter, half inch of the top. So another way just to make sure that everything's sealed well, just take a napkin or a paper towel and then just make sure to get all the ingredients off. Again, to have a good seal, that's so important to make sure that these stay fresh. And so then we just put the lids on top. And for the last part here, let me just move a little bit of this, just to show you. While you were waiting, the canner here, and again, this is the water boil method. I should have probably said that, but just to give you an idea, this isn't quite boiling, but you're filling it up high enough to be able to put it into the canister here, the pot. And so that's where these guys come in, and because obviously this is boiling water, at that time this jar would still be warm, the lid's warm, and so that's a lot of heat. So you just are able to hold this onto the jar like this, and then just put it in. You want to go straight down. You don't want to go at an angle. That'll help to prevent so the jars don't break. So that you just dip that in there, and then you just fill the pot with the jars all around in the middle, and then you time it, and then once each recipe has its own amount of time. I think this one is 10 minutes that you put it in the canister. I know when I do stewed tomatoes it's a lot longer, it's an hour or more. So just read your recipe that you're making, and then once it's done you'll just take this out, and I usually have a towel out, obviously a little bit more organized than that, and then just leave it out like this. And then at the very end, I leave them out overnight, allow them to cool. You will hear the lids will pop, and so that way then you know you're done and everything is sealed and tight. And then you can just put those on your shelves for the winter, and before you know it, this one is not the salsa, but this is one that I had done a couple of weeks ago. This is my stewed tomatoes, and this is what the end product looks like. So you're all ready to go throughout the year to use this for your, obviously this one's salsas, stews. Again, you might be doing pizza sauce or spaghetti sauce. So I hope you found this video helpful. It's a little bit of my heart and what I enjoy doing throughout the late summer, early fall months. Hopefully it's also inspired you to be able to preserve your food as we get to the end of the summer season. I hope you found this helpful. Continue to watch our videos. We have a lot of great videos that are coming up. And again, we'll leave the recipe in the link below. And this is Canning 101, from my house to yours.